everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan.
How's it
Welcome.
going?
Great. Long time no see.
I feel like we haven't just done a back-to-back session, right?
I think you've done 3 back-to-back sessions. Am I right?
Yes, this is the third of
Yes.
3 in a row.
Yes. Well, welcome to the very last session for us of Community Week. Don't forget, tomorrow, you still have a whole session. There's all sorts of global community members presenting tomorrow, so make sure you check out tomorrow's schedule. It's great to see you, Cheryl. You have been in almost every single session. Have you been in every session, Cheryl? She's from Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta Public Schools. It is so great to see so many of you from Mary from Missouri. Kiki, I love seeing you. I saw you this morning from India, Ukraine. Ryan, do you see anybody familiar in this chat?
It's a good question. I'm still looking at everything else. I see Merritt. I see Darcy.
Lisa from Texas.
Lisa from Texas.
Rick was here.
Rick is here
Rick
as well.
was here. Will he still be here? We don't know. Chelsea is here. Chelsea, this is going to be a good one. Really excited to see you. And we have a treat for you. But before we do the treat, Ryan, do you want to remind them of all the things?
We will. Let's go ahead and get the banners flying here. Don't forget to tweet all of your takeaways, thoughts, feelings, emotions about the session using that hashtag Wakelet Community Week, where every entry, every post is a chance to win a VR headset or some cool Wakelet swag, gift cards, tons of things and giveaways throughout the week. We also want to give a shout out to our sponsors and partners, specifically ClassLink being the main primary sponsor for Wakelet Community Week. And yeah, throughout this session, make sure you drop some questions in the chat. We're excited and ready. I know the panelists are backstage and ready to get out here and share what they've been working on.
Yes.
You ready?
I'm ready. I do have some questions for everybody in the chat. And as you know, this is a student-focused session. It's titled Student Showcase, Wakelet Beyond the Classroom. It's a Q&A. It's a panel. We thought it was only appropriate as we are talking about how Wakelet and technology can transform learning for students. Why not allow the students' voices, right? They're the ones. They're like the customers, Ryan, that, we need to hear feedback from them. Where are they right now? The things that I was doing in the classroom, even in 2019 would not necessarily apply to 2024. And the only way to really get a good idea and picture of where I need to adjust my teaching and even my own learning is to be able to talk to students. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to talk to students specifically. And if you heard Stacy White present, I believe it was on Tuesday, about what she's doing with her students, we have a couple of her students here. We have a couple of familiar faces, and you're going to be able to hear. Really, you've heard from Kennedy, right? An elementary student. We're going to hear from middle school students, former high school student in the career place. And then we're going to hear from someone very familiar who has not just gone through high school with Wakelet and college with Wakelet, but now is a postgraduate really exploring Wakelet in this professional way. And it's so incredible to see. Ryan, we should just bring them up so they can start introducing themselves. How about that?
Sounds good. One by one or just all of them at once? Let's bring them all.
Let's bring them all up at one time. We have Juliana Parsons, also Julie Parsons. We have Othniel, he and Stacy. We're bringing everybody up. Othniel, are you in the chat with our attendees?
Not yet. I think there is still a technical issue.
That's okay. So what I'm going to ask all of you to do while we're all together on this stage is I'm just going to ask you to mute yourself. That way we can just not have any of that background noise. And Stacy is with us. Please give Stacy a round of applause in the chat for joining us for not just one session this week, but 2. It is an incredible group here. So we have Juliana Parsons, wave Julie. And then we have Ellie Likens, wave Ellie. Ellie and Julie were my former students, and they are still talking about their time in my classroom using Wakelet and all the things that they learned as student leaders. And then we have Douglas. Douglas, give him a wave. And we have Othniel joining us, and we have Stacy with us, their teacher. We love learning from young people, Crystal, and I think there is no other way. We've talked about side-by-side learning. Katrina is not joining us today, Alex. I'm very sorry. I know you're a little disappointed with that, but I think these students are going to give you a whole bunch of information within this hour. So, just really want to start off. Julie, I want you to do a quick intro. We're going to pass it to Ellie. Ellie, you're going to pass it to Douglas. Douglas, you're going to pass it to Othniel. And you guys just do a quick intro, okay? Of yourself.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Juliana Parsons. I am a former Wakelet student ambassador. I was one while I was Tish's student in high school. I just last year graduated from Ouachita Baptist University with 2 degrees in business, and I am currently pursuing independent studies and a career in data analysis. I'm also a small business owner where I, under cottage law, am a custom dessert artist, and I've been doing that for about 6 years.
Hi, I'm Ellie Likens. I am currently working at Sephora. I'm a media manager there, so I run our Instagram and stuff. So that is me and what I do.
Thanks, Ellie. Douglas?
Hello, I'm coming from junior high. I'll be sharing my experience with Wakelet and how it's helped me get through other things such as competitions and such. And that's me.
Hello. I'll be using Wakelet to help me with my stuff, and I suppose. Oh yeah, and with technical issues. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Othniel. Okay, so Ryan, we're going to let Stacy and Othniel go backstage. They're going to be in the chat with us to answer any specific questions. I'm going to stay here, and I know Julie and Ellie have some specific things they're going to share. Thank you so much for joining. Here's what I want to happen. We have a couple of people watching. We do. But Douglas, Julie, Ellie, Ryan, I want all of us to smile. I want everybody who's watching to take a screenshot right now. And I want you to share this YouTube link. So go up to the top of YouTube, grab that share link, tweet that out, share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn or Instagram, and make sure you're using the hashtag Wakelet Community Week. Students are talking. And I think when students are talking, Ryan, we should be listening. Do you agree? Wait, you're muted.
Why wouldn't it be the last session where I forget to unmute again? It's fine. Wait for Alex in the chat. I'll wait. But student voice is just so empowering. I think this week has been that whole point of proving the fact that Wakelet is that platform that anybody can use, but it's more powerful when it's in the hands of students and what they're able to showcase. We saw that with Kennedy. We saw it with a couple of other presenters who were sharing projects and research and just everything that comes together under that Wakelet umbrella. And just so happy and proud that students have something like this that I wish I had when I was a principal and, a classroom teacher that I didn't have at the time.
Absolutely. So for all of you, Julie, Douglas, and Ellie, we're just going to do this format. Actually, I'm going to let Douglas go first, just from that junior high perspective. And then Ellie, I want you to come in next. And then Julie, I want you to come in from your perspective. You've been using this in a very professional way to kind of expand your learning. And everybody will see why I'm saying that in a minute. But what I want to know, Douglas, okay, how does Wakelet help you organize your school projects, assignments, work samples? Give us a little insight into Douglas and Wakelet.
Well, I've been using it. For example, there was a competition in one of the classes I've been in, and you explain what career you want to be in and why you think you'll be best in that career. And I basically use Wakelet as my personal resume. I've organized it with proof of me actually trying the career, papers, my name, pictures of me, and I've just used that to show that I'm ready to be in my dream career.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Douglas. We're going to have Ellie hop on, and Ellie is going to tell us how she's been using Wakelet to organize school projects, assignments, work samples, anything. Ellie?
Okay, so it's been really, really cool to kind of dip into Wakelet, especially with like just the visual work that I do, because so much of like makeup and everything is just working with people who are so visual. It's been really, really cool to have like a way to organize things in that sense. A lot of what I do takes like a lot of feedback from kind of the rest of the crew at work. And so it's been really cool to just have something where I can get their feedback and confirm that like we're all a part of the same vision. But
Absolutely. Thank you, Ellie. And Julie, tell us how you're using Wakelet to organize school projects, assignments, work samples, maybe even your learning.
Absolutely. So I'm a bit of a dabbler. I have a lot of different conflicting things that go for me in terms of the stuff that I do. I'm a small business owner where I spend a lot of time baking. So I have a section on my Wakelet that has all the pictures of the stuff I do and kind of the story of my business. And then I have a section with all of my collections from college where I talked about the stuff that I was involved in. Being a business grad, I graduated in 3 years with 2 degrees. So I have a lot of stories with that. And then now a big part of it has, as I've entered the career world, I am now dabbling in stuff that has nothing to do with my undergraduate degree. I'm re-enrolled myself in independent courses to learn data analysis softwares and concepts and brush up on programming languages and all of that. And that has nothing to do with baking, and a lot of times has nothing to do with business. So I've been using my Wakelet to kind of help bridge the gap between all of these different conflicting things that I do and help people understand what about all of those things makes up what I love to do and why I enjoy doing it. Just this past week, I applied for a job and they asked for just some creative works I've been doing that use a lot of Canva, some Procreate, and a lot of PowerPoint in this particular job I was applying for. So part of what I did was I created an unpublished Wakelet collection with the stuff that I was proudest of, and I sent that link to them. It's like, here is some of the things that I'm doing. So I'm using it in a lot of different scenarios.
That's amazing, Julie. You are going to share with us before this hour is over. Ryan, could we go ahead and bring Douglas and Ellie back all together, the three of them? I want to know, before we get started, a little bit about how you feel about emerging technologies. And when I say emerging technologies, it's the things that you're all using: AI, maybe Web3, metaverse, AR, VR. I want you to talk to me about how emerging technologies might be impacting your learning at school, your learning at home, maybe in the workforce. Ellie and Julie, I want you to speak to that. So, Julie, I'm going to toss it to you first. Can you speak to how emerging technologies is changing the landscape of what you're doing, maybe even in comparison to when you were in high school?
Absolutely. I think right now, the biggest thing in my own personal life, the fact that I am now into the world of data analysis, it has opened me up to such a wider array of different emerging technologies, and the data analysis world is very competitive. So you have to really be able to learn those skills very quickly. The biggest thing I've been dabbling with is AI, which I'm so excited about all the AI stuff Wakelet has come out with, because I'm very excited about it. But in data analysis, I figured out in my learning of programming languages, especially, it's not so much about, it's a lot about learning about AI and how AI works, but I've also learned that there are specific ways where you can use AI in that learning process. I have been teaching myself how to code in a lot of scenarios, and ChatGPT especially has been my best friend in that entire process. But I've also learned there's a very specific way to speak to this AI in order for it to actually help you get what you want. If you want simple answers, you got to ask it simple questions. And then understanding how it is able to answer those questions is just something that I'm very deeply fascinated by. And definitely at this point, feeling a bit of pressure to really learn that and understand that, because the world I'm in is very competitive in that way.
Great answer. Thank you, Julie. Ellie, how about you? What are you seeing in the job that you have now, in school? How have things changed since you've been in my classroom?
I think it's just been really, really cool to witness like because like in my generation, like we really had like a lot of information at our fingertips. It's just been really cool to see like how that has grown, how quickly that has grown, how much access people have. I'm always telling people, I'm like, Google is so free. Like, you want to know something, go look it up. I promise you, it's there. You'll find it. Like, and
Do you
with Wakelet in this sense?
I was going to say, do you find it? I have noticed a shift. Ryan and I were in that generation where we went and we did Google everything, but I have heard just from different people, and Douglas, you can chime in here too, because this is going to apply to you. Now, when people are searching things, they're either going to Chat GPT or they're going to a little app called TikTok
Yes.
and
Oh my
learning
God, yes.
things. Do you see that in your role, Ellie, with the customers that come into your shop? Are they saying, "I saw this on TikTok"? Tell me more about it.
Absolutely. And like, although there's a bunch of great, awesome information out there, there's also a lot of stuff that is like paid promotion and crazy stuff where you're just like, oh, I don't think that's right. But
So
yeah.
media and digital literacy has become very important to you then in the role that you
Absolutely.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. Douglas, now you are in middle school. You're going into 8th grade, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you like Ryan and I? Do you go to Google when you're trying to look something up? Do you go to an AI tool, Chat GPT, or do you go to TikTok? Where are you going to learn something new?
I believe, well, at first I go to Google, and if I can't find anything that I think is credible, I would go to ChatGPT or Nova AI, any AI chatbot, and I would ask that question.
Amazing. It's so good to hear from you because I think there are differences in learning even with the different generations that we're in. So that's why this is so important that all of you are coming from a different place. Now, we do have a couple of questions that I want to hit on, but before we get there, I want to ask you, this should be a really simple question for the three of you because I believe you are already reflective on this, but how do you learn best? Douglas, how do you learn best in the classroom?
I learn best from, for example, if there was a big test coming up, I would learn best on a practice side or something that if I answer the question wrong, it would tell me I answered the question wrong and how I could correct it.
Okay. So guided instruction, you kind of want that. If you make a mistake, you kind of see where you're going to go next. Okay. Ellie, how about you? Oh, Ellie, you're muted. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
There you are.
Sorry. Could you repeat the question one more time? That threw me so hard for a little.
It's okay. How do you learn best?
Honestly, I'm just like a very, very hands-on person. And I think that's part of why like I've enjoyed working with Wakelet so much is just like that very, very visual aspect. I'm a really like monkey see, monkey do person. And so it's nice to have something where I can just kind of like visualize the whole thing and explain it to people that way. Because I'm really not great with words.
Awesome. And Julie, what about you?
Yes, I'm very hands-on. I've always been kind of that way. I a lot of the times don't ask for permission to try things a certain way. It got me into a lot of trouble, but it's honestly for me, I have no problem with failure. For me, if I'm going to learn something, I'm going to do it by trying and attempting until I get it right. Finally, I ran into a lot of issues with that in college because I didn't agree with a lot of the ways that my professors would, talk to their board they were writing on and not to us. And then, okay, go do it. I was like, no, I want to do the thing and fail at it until I get it. That's how I've always learned best.
That's amazing. I'm only laughing, Julie, not at you. I'm actually laughing because Ryan, my colleague, he is exactly the same way as you. Okay, we're going to shift a little bit. I actually want to show a video. A lot of you remember Anora. And so I'm just going to, Ryan, you're going to help me kind of on the technical side. If you will share out Anora's profile in the chat. And I'm also going to share my screen. I want to show you Anora's profile. If you haven't seen it before, this is Anora's profile. She has been using Wakelet for years. And so again, it doesn't happen overnight. All of these students are in different places in their learning of Wakelet and in their portfolio process. So you can see how Anora has really kind of made her profile personalized. She's using Canva to make everything consistent, using graphic design. She's using sections to put together personal collections and music collections and school collections. She also was a Wakelet student ambassador years ago. But she has a video, and I want to showcase that video. It's a very quick video. So Ryan, just make sure that you can hear this video. Let me just rewind it. She's going to tell you her experience with Wakelet.
Wakelet has helped me to collaborate, create, and enhance my work because it's very easy for me to organize my thoughts along with links and projects I'm already working on. It's also very easy to share these ideas with other people so that we can work together. As a college student, an emerging technology I'm very excited about are AI websites such as ChatGPT and Gemini by Google. I very much use these to organize my thoughts that are a little bit jumbled so that I can understand them a little more and better explain them to my professors and classmates.
Okay, so we've added Nora's profile. She could not be with us. We did ask her to join us today so she can share, but she has a prior engagement, and so she wanted to at least send over some information for all of you. Ryan, do you have any questions for our guests?
I might. Hold on.
Ryan didn't have his Red Bull today, guys.
I did not have my Red Bull.
While you're looking for your question, I just want to shout out Othniel and Douglas. You guys are incredible. We're going to have you share more in just a minute. And I know Othniel is in the chat answering correct questions with all of you. Honestly, it's incredible. I believe this so much, and Ellie and Julie know this, but having students engage in chat with other teachers and kind of answering questions, I think it's just a really, really good experience. So thank you, Othniel, for taking that on. Rick says Ryan and Tish should do that. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but it might be what Julie said, asking for permission later. I think that might be what he's talking about. Okay, Ryan, what's your question?
I'm just going to go back to I got a couple questions here, and I want to go back to some of these that are in the chat as well at the same time. They're bookmarked, so I want to come into these as well. But the first one that was there was, do you find that you're able to use some of your portfolios for more than one class or project?
Douglas, what do you think?
Yes, for sure. I believe, though, you should use different media, but Wakelet is universal and it could be used for any subjects. Even as you see with Juliana and Ellie, with college and even even having a job, it's really universal and you could use it anywhere.
Thank you. Ellie, what about you?
Yeah, I really just I've enjoyed how multifaceted it is, and just you'll be shocked by how many things you end up needing portfolios for the stuff that you do for.
Tell us more about that.
So it's just really nice to have it on the drop of a hat. I know whenever I first was starting, because I had started with you in Wakelet in high school, I had a couple of random portfolios for just the SFX makeup that I used to compete in and all this other stuff. And it was really nice to just be able to pull those out, have something finished to show people of previous work that I've done.
Awesome. Thank you. Julie?
Yeah, I talked about before. I used an unlisted, I guess is a good word, unpublished Wakelet collection to send some of my creative works to a potential employer. That was one of the ways where not necessarily something on my profile or my digital resume, but I could use that as a means of getting a lot of concise things together to send to these hirers. Part of it too, in data analysis, there are so many other different platforms where you end up posting your work. Depending on the kind of work you're working with, you have GitHub is a huge one. Kaggle's another really big one. I have a lot of work on Tableau as well, and I'm enrolled in a data boot camp. So this was a great way for me to be able to bring all of these other different platforms I'm involved in to create one picture of who Julie Parsons is in data analysis. And it's been a really great way for me to concisely and effectively merge all of these other platforms I'm on.
Well, Julie, that's a great segue into us allowing you time to share what you're doing. So I'm going to go backstage with Ellie and Douglas and maybe even Ryan. We're going to let you control the screen and kind of do a mini showcase, if you will.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is awesome. Okay. I can no longer see the screen, so I'm waiting to make sure that everything gets shared correctly. I'm watching the YouTube over here, so if you see me look over this way, it's because I'm watching this YouTube.
You should be good now.
Okay, awesome. So you should be able to see my profile. So this is my Wakelet profile. I've had this one for about, I want to say, oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm dating myself. This is probably about 7 or 8 years old. It's gone through a lot of different changes in terms of the aesthetic of it and what I'm using it for. I have a lot of sections down at the bottom that are from my high school days. I have my Wakelet student ambassadorship collections down there, and then it kind of comes more recent as you move up. I have my data projects organized here. I have my data analysis resume. So this includes a lot of the other links to the platforms I'm on that I mentioned. My resume is in this collection. I also have all of these collections for all of these other certifications and course completion certificates that I am working on. One of my favorite ones right here, the particular boot camp that I'm enrolled in for data analysis is called Data Camp. And part of it with Data Camp is you can explore a lot of different data analysis softwares and concepts and programming languages, and being as my Wakelet in the columns specific way, it helps me be able to let people know who come to my profile, hey, here is what I'm studying and to what capacity I'm studying it. So I'm able to really effectively translate that instead of creating a new collection for every single software that people might not be able to get the whole picture of if they're not exploring my Wakelet really deeply. This is a high level overview of all of the stuff that I'm learning with this specific bootcamp. And then if I go back, I talked about before too, I am a small business owner, so all of the pictures of everything I make ends up in their own collection on Wakelet. Sometimes I just like to go for fun and just scroll through it because it makes me really happy to look at all of these cakes I've made. One major thing that helps me whenever I organize my Wakelet in these ways is it helps me really combat imposter syndrome, which I know is something a lot of professional people struggle with. I definitely really struggled with it whenever I started getting into a field after I graduated that had nothing to do with what my bachelor's degree was. So I am able to look at all of the stuff that I have here and be able to say that I have done a ton of stuff. I have something that I can bring and back up that I know what I'm doing, that I'm really good at learning it, and that I enjoy doing it. I have proof of what I can do, and it really helps me able to combat those negative feelings of, oh, you're not good enough for this field, you're not ready yet. I'm able to look at all of this and say, oh, I'm doing really well. So that is one that's really helped me a lot. And of course, I have some of my bachelor's degree stuff. My senior thesis stuff is there, which also had nothing to do with my bachelor's, and it has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But it's just a really fun way for me to be able to bring all of these different parts of who I am and the stuff that I enjoy and be able to effectively, concisely put it all together in a way that makes me feel happy and proud of myself. And I don't know if you can tell, but I custom made all of these banners in Canva as well, and all of these I love the Canva integration with Wakelet so much because everything is nice and matches and it's pretty, and all of these colors are the same hex code as my banner, and it just makes me really, really happy. But this is my profile. I'm adding to it almost daily. And again, earlier this week, I used Wakelet capabilities to bring some of the stuff I had stored in other collections into another one that's unlisted, and I sent that private link to a hiring team to see if they'd be interested. So and that process is going really well, in case anyone knows or is asking. But yeah, I really, really have enjoyed using Wakelet as a digital portfolio because for the stuff that I need, it's all right there. It's all really easy. And yeah, I really have no other complaints. Or if anyone has questions, I would love to answer them.
Hey, Julie, just some incredible comments in the chat. First of all, Rick and Mary, they're ready for cake. They love your cakes. I did share your profile into the chat. Alex, who is a really well-versed Canva user, he loves your theme. And so a lot of people are just saying how great it looks, the consistency. And I was just commenting, you said something, but your Wakelet collections and portfolios, I thought it was funny that you said you were going to date yourself. That cracked me up already, just being your former teacher. But your Wakelet collections and your entire profile, or also known as a portfolio, has really transformed with you. Yes. As you have grown as an individual person and as a learner, right?
Yes, I went through and purged it. I didn't pick it back up really until after I graduated college, where I realized that as a data analyst and applying for jobs, you need a lot of proof of that you know what you're doing in order to get into a lot of these spaces. So I really revamped it after I graduated college. And I went through and purged all of the stuff I didn't feel like I needed on it anymore, and really tried to make it something I felt proud of and felt like was a good reflection of the stuff that I know how to do in the world that I'm trying to get into. So, and again, I am dabbling in all of these different things that have nothing to do with each other, but in some ways they do, because underlying it's the same sort of skills or same sort of bringing it all together was a really important thing to me, because I was really worried about how do I explain to employers all of these different things that I'm doing and why all of them together have made me fit for this specific role that I'm applying for. And it's been a journey. I've definitely learned a lot about myself in the process. And again, it's helped me combat the imposter syndrome of it all. And
I think you've hit on something right there, because that is going to resonate not only with our student panel and other students, but I think even our educators watching, whether it be Ryan or Stacy or Alex or Rick. We talk about imposter syndrome so much. And don't you think it's difficult to remember the growth and progress you've made until you actually can see it visually, like you were talking about earlier, and then you realize how much you have to offer to all of these different opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. And in a lot of the projects I've done, after I graduated college, I got my Google Data Analysis professional certification, and there were a lot of things that went into that. So I have that project up here. I have in each collection, there are a lot of different moving parts to it. So I have like the link to the guide. I have the link to the website I used. I have the link to the slides I made for it. I have the link to Tableau where I made a dashboard for it, and it can all come together in one nice, pretty gift box of a project that I'm proud of.
That's amazing, Julie. Well, I'm going to pop you backstage. I'm going to bring Douglas up, because Douglas is seeing some questions in the chat that he wants to address. Douglas, go ahead and tell me what you see in the chat that you wanted to address.
Well, I've seen Miss White ask me if I can imagine a scenario where I would be able to create a Wakelet on another class. And I would have loved to do that, but at the time I didn't know what Wakelet was. And an example for that is in my pre-algebra class, we were teaching others how to do a certain type of math, and we were, teaching people who were behind a little to help them. And I used Canva for that, but I feel like it could have been more organized. And I think that's where Wakelet really could have came in and organized it better, put it in different sections, for example, step by step. And that's just what I saw and I wanted to respond to.
I think that's great. I kind of want to ask you an extending question on that. You just saw Julie share her portfolio. What did you notice about what Julie shared that maybe you want to take to your own collections or portfolio?
Well, there were sections, and I didn't even know you could section out your information like that. And I would start doing that to separate class from class or project from project, because it can get kind of confusing if you have everything in one folder. It'll be the same if you had a lot of homework in one folder at school. You'd be trying to look through it, and it's hard to find. So
yeah, listen, Douglas, in the chat, people are going crazy. And I don't know if you were seeing this, but our watch count, we have so many more people tuning in. I see Tanya Gonzalez, who is also an advocate for student voice. Stacy, Miss White, she's in the chat. You see her. Everybody is really wanting to hear from all of you. So I have one question that I've starred that I'm actually going to ask you. Okay. So Alex Isaacs is asking, when you're thinking, because you're about to go into 8th grade, and right now it seems like the future is really far away, right? You may not know exactly what you want to do right now, but when you're thinking about joining a club or an internship, or maybe even getting a job when you're in high school, how do you think that portfolio is going to personally impact you?
it would give proof that what I'm saying is true. And also one thing I saw on Juliana's page is she linked her socials, and
Yeah.
that is another way that I could show proof that I'm not just talking about it and not going with it, but I'm also posting about it and I'm actually in the journey.
You know, Douglas, something someone said to me years and years ago in my former teaching job is that the resume is a promise, right? You can promise a lot of things on that resume, but your portfolio and how it transforms with you and your learning is the proof. So the resume is a promise, but that portfolio is proof of what you can do. And you're absolutely right about that. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm going to pop you backstage and I'm going to have Ellie come up and do a quick share for us. And then we'll all come back together at the end.
Yes.
Okay, Ellie is going to share with us. Ellie, are you ready to share with us?
Oh boy, am I.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to stay right here with you, okay? But you go ahead and just do your quick showcase and talk about all the things that you want to share with our attendees.
Okay, this is going to be super, super quick. So one of the things that I do is monthly we get like a look calendar. It's not something that's like super enforced. It's not anything that's like required. It's just something like fun to boost morale at work. So you get like little themes for your makeup to follow. These are the ones that I did for June. I've been doing these kind of monthly just like as a way to organize all the influx of ideas. So I kind of have different little columns here, you'll notice, for all the resources. These are just some articles from like Sephora.com about like their Pride themes and their Pride Month and like what that entails and what they do to support. These are just some like inspo photos of some of the looks just to like give people an idea of a direction to go in. And then this one is just going to be for all the themes. It does have a title. I don't know why it's saying untitled right now. But yeah, these are just all the theme ideas.
Ellie, let's talk about your page or your collection. So what we saw from Julie was a profile. She was showing us her entire profile with all of her collections. And Ellie is focusing right now on a collection. I just wanted to get that verbiage correct for anybody new to Wakelet. What I want to know about, if you'll just scroll down a little bit, I want you to talk to me about your decision on making this a column layout as opposed to a media or a mood board layout.
Just something to kind of like keep it really, really concise. I like having things kind of separated. My brain works in boxes. So it's just a little bit more like highly organized, because I feel like if it's like a giant mood board of just like word photo, link to website, word photo, it's like a lot for something that like kind of encompasses this much information.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to you just a little bit because you and I had a couple of chats before this, but can you share the story about when you got your job at Sephora and kind of talk to the audience and tell them some of the things that Sephora asked you to do when you went into this job?
So whenever I first kind of got the job, it was just like normal stuff, like being a beauty advisor, all the normal things. And then kind of as I got more into it, they brought up that they were needing someone. I know I mentioned like I'm a media manager. That doesn't mean like I'm in charge of anybody. That just means like they gave me the password to the Instagram and I post all the stuff on there for our store.
Let's talk about that. I want to talk about that because Douglas mentioned that he noticed on Julie's profile, she has all of her social media links there. And you've now been asked by a large makeup corporation to run their social media. Talk to me about that. That is bringing in emerging technologies. Obviously, that entire Instagram account then becomes a portfolio. Have you thought about taking any of those photos from that Instagram account and curating them into a collection for maybe another job opportunity?
Yeah, that's actually been something that I've been working on, is just kind of like having the stuff that I've worked on, because it is like a collaboration. It's me and like a couple other girls who just kind of like all post on there, collaborate on stuff, which is additionally part of why I've loved working with Wakelet, because like we are all very, very visual girls. So it's nice to have something where we're all like looking at something, knowing we're on the same page. But yeah. All the media stuff has been super, super cool and fun.
That's amazing. Well, we have some questions. I'm actually going to bring up Julie and Douglas one more time. So we're all going to be up here. Ryan is in the chat. Now, Rick is asking a question for the three of you. And Othniel, you're in the chat with Rick, and he's asked this question. I want you to answer it in the chat as well. But he's wanting to know, what feature would each of you like to see in Wakelet? So based on your Wakelet usage, your experience, what do you want to see from Wakelet in the future that's going to make your productivity and creativity easier? And you guys can, Julie, would you like to go first?
There we go. Okay, yes, I would. I'll be honest about something. I got these questions beforehand, and I wrote out my answers and did not know what they were going to be announcing on Wakelet Live. So my answers happen to be some of the stuff they announced on Wakelet Live.
What was it?
My most specific one was the browse by topic. I was so excited that was becoming a larger thing, because I remember specifically when I started my profile to try and make it this data analysis hub, where I'm like, okay, there are all these other platforms out there that data analysts are using. Is there anyone else on Wakelet that's using it? And I had a really hard time trying to find topical other collections or profiles who were doing what I was doing. And in that sense, it was cool for me then to like, okay, I'm going to be I'm going to forge ahead then in this area. But I am obsessed with the browse by topic now, because there's such a more intuitive search feature to see what other people are doing. And in that sense, as somebody who's only using Wakelet as a personal portfolio, it gives me the chance to then collaborate again, because I get to go see what other people are doing and see what their ideas are. And I'm sure other people, obviously in this chat, are looking at my portfolio and getting ideas for theirs. So in that sense, it for me, it creates a lot more ground for collaboration, whereas I didn't have that before anymore, because I wasn't a student working on group projects anymore. This was just me. And now I get to go see what other people are doing in a lot more intuitive fashion.
That's amazing. I love that. It's like we sort of read your mind before today. Douglas, based on your Wakelet experience, and if you guys are wanting to know specifically what Douglas is doing with Miss White, her session was on Tuesday, and it is in the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Wakelet. You can go specifically hear how she is outlining her project with Wakelet and her students. But Douglas, I want to know from you, what do you want to see from Wakelet in the future? What's going to help you?
Well, I believe I actually saw a comment recommending this also. I have two recommendations. I would think a tutorial. I saw someone say that a tutorial would be great, showing all the things you could do, because I agree with that, because there were some things like I just found out that you could do, like looking at Julie's page. I didn't know you could do most of the stuff that she has done. And also maybe making a chat bot like ChatGPT or something like that, an attachment. So you could, for example, type up resumes or touch up things, or something that tells you or recommends pages or profiles that you could put in Wakelet that would boost your opportunity.
That's a great suggestion, Douglas. I know Rick is paying attention, and he will share all of this with our team. Ellie, do you have anything specific you want to see from Wakelet?
I was just going to kind of go in the same vein as Douglas and mention, like, I think it'd be really, really cool if it could, like, suggest you profiles, or not even just whole profiles, but, like, boards from other people and collections from other people on, like, similar topics to the things that you have, or, like, similar, just, like, vibes. I think it's really interesting.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit more about learning, because we have got some incredible people. We have 73 people watching from my side. Ryan maybe has a different number, but there's so much happening in the chat. Miss White is talking, Othniel's talking, Rick. There's so many people talking about how inspiring what you've said has been for them. And I think at the end of the day, I'm always going to be a teacher. So I'm always going to apply everything we're doing to that learning. And that is really what I want to talk about with you next. So in order to do that, this is sort of me being on the fly. And if I was ever your teacher, you know how this goes. I'm going to bring something up that I didn't even have planned. But Douglas, I read an article a couple of years ago, and it said the top 10 skills of 2025. I'm going to read them to all of you, okay? And then I want you to specifically tell me what you believe, like the top 2 or 3, what you believe is the most important skill that students should be learning from the teachers watching today. Okay, so it's kind of like you're going to get this moment where you can tell all of the teachers watching today what you've wanted to tell them while you were sitting in their classrooms and you were able to say out loud. Okay. So here is that top 10 skills of 2025. And again, it's 2024. So we're 6 months away from this. Analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, leadership and social influence, technology use, technology monitoring and control, technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, and reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. Now, I want you to kind of let that list sit and resonate with you for just a minute, because that was a lot. Those are the top 10 skills of the World Economic Forum. And they say that everybody, not just students, even all of us, me, Brian, Miss White, all of the people in the chat, we need to be having those skills as well. So being the students that you are in it every day, or you were recently in it. You know how learning goes, and you kind of know what your own experience is. So I want you to draw from that. I want your opinion here, and I want you to take just a minute to tell me what you believe the most important skill is. Ellie, we're going to start with you.
I think honestly, like, I'm not sure exactly what wording you used, but the one about just like stress management.
Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility.
Yeah,
Tell us why.
absolutely. Because every day is so like quickly changing in the workplace. Every day is something different. And it's really, really important for you to just be able to like take a punch, bounce back, and be resilient.
Okay, did you feel like you could do that in class?
I feel like there was just so much pressure in high school. Like there were always the competition of like, oh, well, I missed 2. Well, you missed 3. So, and it just became so competitive, especially with girls. Girls were catty, and it just was such a hard thing. So I think just like finding an environment or like finding a way to facilitate like the it's okay to fail mentality is really, really important.
Okay, we're going to sit with that for a minute. Those of you that are watching, Chelsea says they've been teaching the word grit. Stacy is hashtagging real talk. I want to know, Ellie, I'm going to put you on the spot. You've been graduated a couple of years. Did you feel that your teachers supported that in the classroom? Or did you feel like there was something that they could do better to do that?
I feel like that's the common thread of like my memory of the teachers who I loved were the people who sat there and facilitated the growth and told me that it was okay to fail and taught me how to get back up. Those always ended up being the people who I just like have the spot for in my heart.
That's amazing. Thank you, Ellie. Douglas, what do you think?
I agree with what Ellie said. I was thinking of that. And stress management or tolerance would be one of the best ones because, for example, in schools, you have teachers who they'll just bog down students with work. And sometimes students can't really react to that correctly. For example, some people, they don't know how to tolerate stress. They'll just stop working completely. And I believe that's what should be taught. And also there is one where it said graphic designing.
Yes. So it's going to be creativity, originality, and then you have technology, design, and programming. Tell us more.
Okay, so I believe that skill should also be taught because we were talking about this earlier. Technology, AI is becoming more advanced, and a way, if you want to go a little bigger, you should take advantage of AI and technology because a lot of people are using that and you'd reach a lot of people.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome. Thank you, Douglas. Julie, what do you think?
I'm going to stray from the path a little bit here. It's a difficult question for me to answer because I feel like they're all extremely important and I don't want to pick one over another necessarily and betray the fact that they're just as important. But for me, one of the biggest things that helped me in becoming a career woman after being a student was the reasoning aspect of it. I feel like if I was able to reason with myself about where I was at and what next steps needed to be done and what I learned about how, be reasonable about the way that I know that I actually learn and be reasonable about what I actually enjoyed, then I don't know necessarily that I would have been as confident in my path forward if I wasn't reasonable about the stuff I was learning. Of course, as a peer, the stuff that I was experiencing, I experienced a lot of this in college, which I was really surprised by, was the feeling of trying to get the people around me to care about their learning as much as I cared about mine. I had many a struggle with some of my peers in terms of me wanting to go a little too hard on a project and everyone else kind of just feeling like this was a check the box kind of scenario. And I realized that if you really wanted to get somebody to care about what they were learning and understand why what they were learning was important, you got to understand what lights them up, what gets them talking, and then help facilitate them to be able to go and do that. And I don't know necessarily that someone can even get to that point if they're not reasonable about the fact that they know how they learn, they know what they enjoy, and then they can go and figure out what the next steps are, figure out what resources are available to them, and figure out where to go from here.
Absolutely. You guys have done amazing. I just want you to know that. I'm actually going to bring up Othniel. I know he's been in the chat with all of you. I just want to commend all of you. I just met Douglas and Othniel today. I believe so much in student empowerment and student leadership. I believe in you guys having a platform to say what you need as learners. And so I want to go around again. Okay, so Othniel, we're going to start with you. You can tell the teachers watching and any of the teachers watching the replay or even the Wakelet team, anything. Okay, anything at all. It could be about how you learn best, what you think they need to do over the summer. It could be whatever you want, Othniel. Okay, you tell them right now. I'm going to give you the stage and the platform. We still have 5 minutes. All of you are going to get this turn. So Ellie, Julie, and Douglas, be thinking about this. What do you want them all to know?
I think that Wakelet is a very good tool for all the teachers to use because it helps with creating portfolios for their students' futures, and I think it's very helpful. There's a couple other parts that can also help, like as I said, the tutorial as add-ons, but I think overall it would be a amazing part for a teacher to use.
So just to clarify, you're saying all the teachers watching, you want them to give their students the opportunity to create portfolios, much like Miss White has done with you, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think it would give some options and paths for the students to use in the future and to give them some familiarity with how they're going to become a citizen in the near future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Othniel, for joining us. Douglas, what do you think? What do you want everybody to know?
I believe that this is for teachers.
Yes.
They should open up their learning a little more. Well, most teachers are doing that, but there's some teachers, they're pen and paper, strict teachers, traditional learning. And as AI is becoming, or technology is becoming more advanced, I believe that we should include that in our learning. And because I feel like a lot of people will learn better if they had a different learning or different way of learning, and also make their environment more inviting as teachers.
That's awesome. I agree with you. I agree with you so much. And everybody in the chat, Douglas, is agreeing with you. Ellie, what is your advice now that you are on the other side of graduation?
I think that I've just realized how important it is for teachers to accommodate to all types of learners because everybody learns super, super differently. I think it's really, really cool that Wakelet's kind of just like a multifaceted tool that you can use to make like digital media, auditory media, just like all sorts of stuff to kind of help facilitate that difference in how people learn.
Everybody loves that, Ellie. Thank you so much. And Julie?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to steal these answers, but I'm affirming everything that Othniel and Douglas and Ellie are all saying. I as a student remember some of my best things that I feel like I took away from being a student was I ended up taking a bunch of personality tests. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, that doesn't tell you everything. But I took the 16 personalities, the Enneagram. When I got to college, I took the Berkman assessment, which if anyone knows what that is, it's a very in-depth assessment of how you work in teams and what kind of jobs might be good for you. And I was very blessed that my school paid for that. And then now as an adult, I'm, learning how to deal with adult ADHD and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a very big proponent of learning traditionally is not always going to be the best, the best course, if at all. Everybody learns differently. And one of the things I loved about Wakelet was it helped me really centralize the stuff that I really cared about and the stuff that I really enjoyed. And because I know how I learn, I was able to go and figure out what other platforms out there were resources to me that I know would work well with the way that I learn. The boot camp that I'm a part of for data, the way that it helps me learn, because I'm a very hands-on learner, it gives me an environment to try until I get it, which I knew for me going in was something that was a good way for me to learn stuff. And so I would just encourage teachers, if you're having a hard time getting your students to care, learn about what lights them up and then figure out the best way in which they learn, and then try to help them get connected in ways to go and embrace that. In college, that's done a lot of the times with recommendation letters for summer internships in business and law. Natural sciences get, encouraged to go pursue summer research programs. Even art and theater have local community theaters that partner with schools a lot of the time. So figure out what lights your student up, and then how they learn, and then how to encourage them to go learn it on their own. Because if a student really cares about what they're learning, they're going to embrace it instead of just trying to get past all the things they don't enjoy, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, Julie. I'm only laughing with you because all of you said what I believe, and I didn't say this. I really only talk about it now just a little bit. But in the last year, I realized and was diagnosed with ADHD, and I used to obviously wonder why being in a typical traditional classroom for me forced me to try so hard all the time. And it was because some of the ways that the teachers were teaching just didn't accommodate for the way that my brain works. Like Ellie said, she likes to put everything in boxes. Everybody's some people are visual. There's so much in the chat, and you guys have had so many nuggets of wisdom. Figure out what lights up your students. I would even go as far to say to all of you that are watching, figure out what lights up yourself so that you can then figure out what lights up your students. If you know what lights you up, it's going to really transfer over to your students. Karen feels empowered. You guys, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, you've been incredible today. It has been such an honor. And I just want to publicly thank all of you for joining, taking time, getting dressed up out of your day to be on this 1 hour session to wrap up Community Week. I'm going to stay backstage with you. So if you'll go backstage, don't leave, because I want to say a couple of words to you after. And I'm going to invite my co-host Ryan up. And we are going to officially close out Wakelet Community Week 2024 together. Ryan. And you're muted again.
Listen, I'm managing like 5 things back here.
You are.
You know what's going on. I've got Twitter on this screen. I've got everything else on YouTube here, and I've got our chat here. It's going phenomenal. The comments, the posts, everything people were sharing. I couldn't have said anything better about the closing from the students. We've got the power of student voice being mentioned on Twitter. We've got just takeaways and people posting about how inspired they are to get portfolios started into their classrooms. We couldn't have asked for a better final session, I don't think.
Yeah. I got chills by you saying that. I am so excited, and I believe that this is the future. And I think it makes sense for us to have this session last. We went back and forth on this particular session, and I believed in it so much. I am always going to give students the voice and the platform to share their voice, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are going to be leading. And they're the generation coming up. I agree with so many of you in the chat. It was a incredibly inspiring session to end on. Denise, thank you. Ryan and I, and Rick is out there in the chat. We all just want to say thank you. We got to start our week with all of you, and we got to end the week with all of you. I cannot say it enough. Tweet out all of your thoughts. Shout out to all of the students who were here. You can go back and watch the replay. You can share the replay with your administrators. We're going to share the replay with our team. You can use hashtag Wakelet Community Week. And hopefully somebody cool in this chat's going to win the prize, Ryan. It's not going to be me, you, or Rick, but maybe somebody in the chat here. I feel like Alex Isaacs is going to come in the chat wanting a prize. But I just want you guys to keep shouting and sharing. And I know that this week is over, Ryan, but I don't want you all to forget all of the learning that happened this week. It was incredible.
It was super. I mean, the sessions were just so well attended. We had a variety of topics, experts from everywhere and every level too, from students at the younger level to students at the upper level to students beyond, to teachers, to sharing worldwide on a scale, sharing all of that stuff. It has easily been, in my mind, I think the best Wakelet Community Week that we've ever put on.
You know what, Ryan? I have to agree with you. I think the content of these sessions was so powerful. I was thinking of bounce off webinars as everybody was presenting all week. Rick has really said this on behalf of all of our team. Thank you to every single one of you who has presented and attended every session this week. It could not be Community Week without all of you. It is our absolute honor to officially, I feel like I'm going to tear up here, officially sign off with all of you. What am I going to do next week, Ryan, when I don't get to hang out with all of you every day, all day?
I don't know. I'll be on vacation. So
Ryan's going on vacation. I will be in El Paso. So if you are in El Paso, maybe I will see you there. And then we're getting ready to go to ISTE. So if you are going to be at ISTE in Denver in a couple of weeks, we will see you there as well. Please make sure you connect with all the presenters and with Ryan and Rick and I and the rest of the team. Let us know how things are going and what you're needing. And until next time,
we'll
see you again soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.